Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about the Twilight Zone, Season 1, Episode 27. It is called The Big Tall Wish. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. So yeah, this is an episode about a boxer who is at the end of his career. He's not like super old in terms of just, human age, but he's older for an athlete. He's getting to that point where he's starting to wind down and he's not doing so great anymore. But his girlfriend's son believes that he can wish anything into existence, and he makes a big wish for him to do well in his boxing match, and maybe that comes true. We'll get into the plot as we go. But Tara, my dim co-host, for the audio people, her lighting's very
Whoa,
dim. There was not
dim could be quite an insult.
yes, that was not a comment on her intelligence in any way, shape, or form. That was purely about the lighting in her room. I realise how that sounded out of context. The video people can see, though, they can see that there's dimness happening here.
Maybe I'm a little dim.
All right, but what did you think? What did you think of the Big Tall Wish?
It's okay. I think it's good. I like most of it. I think I like the message of it a lot. And the performance from the lead guy was really good. There's the girl that plays his girlfriend. I recognized her from a Mystery Science Theater episode called The Leech Woman, which we'll watch today.
Really, I'm impressed with that because I was expecting you to say Star Trek. I was expecting you to give me a Star Trek reference.
No,
and you didn't.
I mean maybe she's in Star Trek. I don't think so.
She's in a bunch of stuff. Up until 2000s, she was in stuff quite regular. So there you go. I thought it was okay too. I didn't think it was a great episode. It's probably one of the least Twilight Zone feeling episodes that we've had.
Yeah, although they do take this concept of a kid who's able to wish whatever he wants into existence or out of existence in a much better way in the future. But I like what they do with this one.
Yeah, no, it's a bit more uplifting. It's got its message. There is one murky.
I actually think it's kind of a downer.
Well, it's kind of funny. I think there's almost a bit of murkiness with the messaging where you can take two things from it, and they kind of not contradict each other on their own, but kind of contradict each other in the sense of like, which one is this episode really about? Because it feels weird to be about both at the same time, because one's positive and one's negative. But like you say, the actor's good. I think it is worth mentioning here that the main characters in this are all black, which for a TV episode in 1960 has to be a fairly prominent detail that we can't overlook.
Right, yeah.
So
I don't think we've had any like black characters in any of the Twilight Zone yet. Like even a side character? I can't remember any. No?
I'm going to assume there was a side character at some point, but it's the sort of thing where I wouldn't have noted it, especially. But yeah, I mean, it's notable. It's notable for the time period, and it's obviously nice to see. But the episode, it's a very sort of bittersweet episode, and it doesn't really have like any sort of big, huge things going for it. You kind of know exactly what's going to happen the second it introduces the idea of a big wish. It's the second it starts talking about the kid making wishes. You're like, well, okay, the wish is going to happen, and sure enough, it does. He's in the boxing match, he gets knocked down, and he does not, in fact, get up again. And you will.
It's sort of done in a creative way here, though, with the match.
Let me finish my joke. I'm trying to make a joke.
I didn't realize you were setting up for a joke.
He will, in fact, not get back up again, and you can, in fact, keep him down forever. I was doing reverse lyrics to Chumbawamba. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Oh. You ain't ever going to keep me down.
I think that's the second time we've brought up Chumbawamba on this show, and we need to stop. That's twice too many.
Never. I will never stop. Pissing the night away. Pissing the night away. Okay, I'm done.
You're welcome, audience, for that earworm.
um, so he's actually down on the mat, and he's getting counted out. But it's right at this moment where the kid, who I believe his name is Henry, he wishes really hard. He's watching on TV, and he's like, "No, please, please." And it's like him and the other fighter just swap places. Like the time freezes for a second, from our perspective. It's all these freeze frames, and then the people switch, and all of a sudden he's the one standing, and then he's declared the victor, and that's it. But it's worth mentioning this comes. I think this is actually after the ad break. This is actually quite late on in the episode before it kind of gets to the main point, which I think is one of the faults of the episode almost, is that the entire first half. Like, because as soon as they introduce the idea early on, you get exactly where it's going to go, but it spends a long time getting to that point still. Like,
but it is kind of creative where it's just a switch instead of I really wish he's going to win, and like he just knocks him out instead. But this is because he switches with him. Right away that it's magic, not that he just suddenly had the skill set to win.
Sure, okay, yeah. So it could be ambiguous. Like, was it the wish? Was it just him being the best? But that could still be a good story. You could almost argue that him just knowing that this kid wishes for it gives him the belief in himself. Like, you could have a nice little, message about inspiration and motivation in there.
Maybe, but it doesn't go in that direction.
It doesn't. But yeah,
I mean, it sort of is, because he's telling him to believe in it. And if you don't, then it's not going to work. Whoa.
Damn cat. And his tail's still kind of hanging over next to the camera, so it might appear out of frame. No, it's gone now. So, yeah, and there's this whole thing where, like, this like sleazy, like, promoter comes into him in the locker room and, like, is like, "Oh, I just have to last 2 rounds. That's all I'm paying you for, really. You don't have to last any longer than that. Like, because you're just here to put the young, talented fighters over. You're not really a big deal anymore." Kind of thing. And he gets so angry that he ends up punching the wall and like breaks his hand, which puts him at a disadvantage going into the fight, obviously. And this ties into the themes of the idea that he, like, the jaded, like, real world adulthood of the whole situation kind of hitting them really hard, and it's not about the magic of the sport anymore. It's like these people are just making it about the money, and taking all of the love and all everything about the boxing that he liked in the first place that made him want to be a boxer, and so on and so on. That childlike belief or the childlike dream that he had is just at the end of its life, it's just deteriorating before his eyes. But of course he wins, and they're cheering, and he's all happy, and he's excited, and he's been congratulated in the street on the way back to where he lives, which is in the same building as his girlfriend and her son Henry. And he goes in, and he's like, he taps on the door, and he says, "Oh, hey," and they talk for a little bit. He's like, "Oh, can I see Henry?" And she's like, "Okay." He's probably waiting on you, and he's lying there in bed, and he's going to sleep. Oh wait, I think I'm mixing things up. He's not in bed until he comes back after it's switched back, right? Because the scene that takes place where the wishes happened and succeeded is on the roof. It's on the roof of the building, and he has this faint memory, even though he's happy that he won. He has this faint memory that he was on the mat, he was losing, and all of a sudden he wasn't anymore. He asks Henry about this, and Henry is hesitant to talk about it. He doesn't want to say, and that lets him know that there's some truth to this. He's like, "Yeah, I wished really hard, but it'll only be true if you believe in it. If you don't believe in it, then it can't be true anymore." Basically, Boley is the name of the main character. He just is like, I can't accept it. I can't accept magic. I can't accept the wish.
He's just super jaded from his life. Like, that's just not the way the world works, and he can't. Once he hears that it's magic, he's like, "Well, that's impossible. It can't be magic. It has to be me."
I think you can read this 2 ways, though. I think there's the depressing side, which ties into the other scene, where it is him being jaded, and he just isn't willing to believe in the dream anymore. It's the idea that he's lost his childlike belief in anything, right? The idea that anything can come true. But I think there's a positive reading this as well, where he doesn't want it if it's not real. Where he doesn't want it if it's not him actually earning it. If it's not him actually winning the match fair and square, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to just have it be a trick.
Yeah, I kind of thought that too while I was watching it, and I also thought, well, maybe he doesn't want it because he doesn't want to accept that he's not the best,
Mm.
which is also kind of cynical.
Yeah, I mean, it can be cynical, but it can be like a positive. It can be a teaching thing more for Henry than him. Like, no, like
Yeah.
I can't just take the win because you were able to grant it. Like, it has to be real. It has to. If I am going to feel happy about this, it has to be the real thing. I have to earn it. So, but of course, he refuses to accept the wish, and we actually flash back to the moment where he's on the mat, and time's frozen again, and it puts him back down, and then it ends like it should have done, where he lost. And as he's walking home, like people just like give him like stares, and like one guy's like, "You should have thrown your right hand. What are you doing, you fool?" He's like harassed in the street for losing a boxing match. Like, go away, you bunch of idiots. But he comes in and he goes to see Henry, who's lying in bed. And Henry has no memory of like the wish working, right? That timeline has been erased,
Hmm.
and it doesn't seem like Boley does either. And he comes in and he's like, oh, I wish so hard, for you, Boley, but it just I guess magic and wishes aren't real because it just didn't work. And he's like, well, I guess not, but maybe they are real. Maybe it's just because no one believes in them. And again, you can read this in the super jaded way, where this is the moment in this kid's life where he learned to stop believing in things, and it's really depressing.
That is kind of how I read it, but I sort of like the episode more because of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It gives it enough of like an emotional edge that it actually has something to say as opposed to just. But I kind of like this idea of like. Again, goes back to what I was saying before about the more positive take on it, where Boley couldn't just accept like winning because it wasn't real. Is that after he says that, he says, "But no, but maybe there is magic and maybe wishes can be true, but it's just that not enough people believe in them." It's this idea that
Hmm.
not just automatically being given a win and having this, he still has a little bit of that hunger in him, and he's still willing to go along with it for Henry's sake, but he can't accept it for himself, kind of thing. I don't know. Like there was definitely like a little positive nugget in there that I felt was kind of shining through, even though I agree that the main point is quite
Yeah.
cynical and jaded and depressing. But
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're probably right. I don't remember when I watched it thinking that this was a sad ending, but as I reflect on it, later on, I started thinking, oh, it's actually pretty dark, pretty sad, pretty like tragic, because it is very much about a child who's losing his sense of wonder and becoming cynical, like the boxer who doesn't believe in anything anymore.
here's the thing that makes it not so sad is that Boley's actually a really good person and like is a great like sort of stepdad or whatever to this kid. Takes him out for because the scene
Hmm.
ends with him saying, "Hey, how about tomorrow we go and see like an ice hockey game and I'll get some hot dogs, like in the park or something like that." And he's like, "Yeah, that sounds great." Like it ends in this kind of like, no, he's a good person. Like this doesn't define who he is. Like this failure. Like that there's some positive
Yeah.
beats in there.
I guess
Um,
it kind of reminds me of like a Christmas movie where like the parents have all forgotten what Santa Claus
mm,
is because they don't believe in magic anymore. And the kids are like, no, if you only believe, then Santa is real and he'll bring you presents.
yeah.
But, and
Oh, honestly, the episode's not bad. I think the episode isn't one of the greats because it does like make it clear what it's going to do very early on, and then takes like until after the
takes a
ad
while to
break.
get there.
Because like I
Yeah.
say, the boxing match doesn't happen until after the ad break, so you've got a good like out of the 25 minutes, you've got the first like 12 or whatever that don't really get to the point, kind of thing.
Hmm.
Surely, if anything, I would have expected if you told me this episode's plot, I would have expected the cliffhanger to be after the wish, like when the time changes and he switches and he's like standing there winning, and then go to ad break kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's
I did
not.
check on um, IMDb to see if like any of the characters were in Star Trek 'cause it's a cheat that I like to do. But I didn't see any of that. But what I did see was that the music was done by Jerry Goldsmith.
Who, of course, scored Star Trek: The Motion Picture? Yes, 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 yes.
Based on the hit television show Star Trek: The Original Series.
You can have it. You did your homework. Oh man. Uh, So I mean, I think the episodes is. I think I actually like it a bit more probably after talking about it. Just
Yeah, I
because,
liked it more after I thought about it too.
yeah, because there's a little bit more layers there than there is. I think that the script could have been reworked a little bit to be a bit more evenly paced, but
Hmm.
honestly, it kind of feels like it might just be guilty of like not like. The story they've got here is a great like 15-minute story, but obviously they have to hit like 22, 23 minutes or whatever it is for the actual screen time of the episode.
Yeah, I think they're
Um,
about 25 minutes, right?
well,
Commercial breaks must have been shorter back then.
yeah, the total's 25 minutes, but if you take out like the opening intro and like the ending with Serling telling you about the next one and so on,
Hmm.
I feel like if you cut 5 minutes out of the first half of this, it's probably a really tight little, great little story. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I did genuinely like this one. It's not as like eerie as some of the other Twilight Zones that I really like, but it is, fairly dark. And I think the acting's really well done.
well, here's
It
the
is interesting to have like a full African American cast in uh, a show from this time, and the plot of the show has nothing to do with their race.
But again, here's the funny thing: is you say this has got a depressing ending. Here's most Twilight Zone episodes end with like a really like the character's dead or the character's doomed forever or like this is actually no. He's going to take the kid out for some hot dogs the next day. He's okay. Like you know,
Okay, yeah,
the
I get that you're choosing to interpret the ending that way.
life is not too bad. Like like sure, there's things that we have to accept don't exist, but life moves on. It's actually
I like that he's super jaded from life and doesn't accept that magic exists and convinces the kid to be just like him so that he could be an adult instead of and just seeing the magic fizzle away out of the kid's eyes forever into adulthood.
you heartless bitch.
Welcome to real life, kid.
Oh, jeez. So at the end of the episode, of course, Rod comes on screen and tells about the next one. He's in a fancy set this time. So this is something that they've had like a prop here or there at the ending bit with him. This is the first time
Yeah, he's
maybe.
no longer just smoking in a chair.
Yeah, he's walking this big lavish like set. It's like the foyer of a big mansion or whatever it is, or like a
Mhm.
maybe like a. Oh, there's a big foyer in like a big fancy building, like whatever it may be. Possibly like some sort of gala or something like that. But anyway, so he comes down, and it's someone who dies and then visits this place. So it sounds like an afterlife story,
Mhm.
more than anything. The description, the episode's called "A Nice Place to Visit," and the description on IMDb is as follows: When bad guy Henry Francis Valentine dies in a shootout with police, he wakes up in the next world where his every wish is granted forever and ever. I feel there's going to be a monkey's paw element to these wishes, where
Oh,
it's not quite as happy as it sounds. It sounds like
yeah.
it sounds like he's going to eventually, at the very least, I'm expecting him to get bored because there's no challenge to anything. He can just have whatever he wants.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's no
Like the
thrill.
immortal episodes,
Kinda, yeah, kinda.
maybe.
So that's the next. That's the next one.
Or the twist is that he's not in heaven. It's a good place twist.
Spoiler. Oh dear. If that is the twist, though, I'm going to be calling up Make Sure and having a word about his plagiarism. So that sounds interesting. We'll see how the next one shapes up. That's episode 28 next week. Getting up there in the numbers. Getting up there in the numbers.
28.
There's still like 9 left
And
of
we're
the
like,
season.
what, a third of the way through the season? Or
No, to be fair, we're 2/3, just over 2/3 through. But still, it's an insane amount of episodes for one season. But yeah, that is us. You can, of course, let us know what you think of this episode of Z Twilight Zone in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. You can support us, of course, by rating the audio podcast on your audio podcast app of choice. Apple Podcasts being the most common one. Give us a nice 5 stars and whatever. And it helps people find us and that kind of thing. How else can people support us, T-Dog?
don't call me that.
That's dog with a AW in it, not a O, just for the record.
Still don't call me that. Check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MileFuzzTV. You can donate as little as $1 per month, and you get a bunch of bonus stuff. So check it out.
You can do that. You can check out other content we have, of course. We have a sci-fi movie podcast that me and Tara do called The Ace, the Atomic Cinema Experiment. And it's occasionally pretty good. We received a lot of praise for our Terminator 3 episode that we just did recently, that just went up publicly like a week or two ago by the time this goes up.
It's the most praise that movie's ever seen.
So do check that out. Check that podcast out. See if you like us talking about Twilight Zone, it makes sense. You might like us talking about other sci-fi stuff. So go and have a look at that. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys, in the Twilight Zone.